was born in Warsaw, Poland, and then I would go around, and then I went to New York because I like going around. I don't know why, but I do that. So I always had this fantasy to be in New York, and then I came, and within some time the fantasy changed and it became the reality. So that's the thing, when something becomes the reality, then the fantasy goes away, but then you miss the fantasy. So I'm back in New York again, and it's been a month, and at first I hated it, and I think it was easy to hate it because I made a decision, I'm done. And then I walk on the street like today walking to you, and then I like it again. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Why do I like it again? Do I want to stay? And then the problem is like, I want it all. I want to be at home. I want to have my quiet and my solitude. I live alone. I love it. And then again, I want to be in the world. So it's really difficult on daily basis. You turn apart every single day and every single night. Like when I feel, no, I'm upset, I'm sad, I want to go home. And that's when I feel comfortable and safe. That makes me feel better. But then I'm not a sad person to begin with. So then I feel energized. I'm like, what? Lately came up with this comparison, like my stepmom asked me lately about this boy who I just threw out from my house. He moved in with me to Warsaw, and I was like, no, it's too much, you're too romantic, I'm done with that shit, I want to have a stable life, like don't tell me about your feelings every day. And I threw him out after 2 weeks. It took me no trouble whatsoever. I said, it's not working, you have to go. And he packed his whole apartment in Seattle to be with me because we were madly in love before. And I'm like, no, I'm done with this love shit. And apparently, I'm not even done with that. And it was so easy to make this decision that I'm done. And I felt so wise and strong. I'm like, this, we tried to work out this fantasy, but the reality hit us. The fantasy doesn't work anymore. And it felt good to know that because then I knew where I am. And then the fantasy approaches me again, and I was talking to my stepmom yesterday, and she's like, what is it? What's the feeling? Please describe me. Is it melancholy? Do you miss him? Are you sad? I'm like, no, it's neither of the above. It's not that I miss what we had, because we can still have it. It's there, it's out there. He's like on call in a beautiful way. And I was trying to come with what is this feeling. And then I came with a comparison that is like with a little balloon flying above you. And it's just a balloon, but the feeling is like, do I want to grab it or I want to let it go? And it's like, and what if I grab this balloon? Or what if I let it go? Because I'm perfectly happy without the balloon. And that's the problem. I'm perfectly happy. So people would think that it's a great thing, but sometimes it's a problem because, to kind of compose yourself for more when you're perfect. Most people act like, I want to do that to make myself happy, so I'm going to change my life and then I'm going to be happy. I'm perfectly happy on a daily basis. I don't need to change it. But then the new fantasy approaches you, and then you're like, I'm perfectly happy, but what if I do that? And then you start painting another picture. And you can do everything. And it's been always my problem since I was a small girl. My mommy would notice that. I didn't know it because it was me. For me, it was natural. My mom would be like, you want to have everything. You can't have everything. You can't be everybody. So I wanted to be a doctor and a lawyer, but an actress and a painter. And I wanted to write books, and I wanted to write plays, and I want to act in a play, and then I want to sing in a play. So I wanted to be an artist. But then again, I wanted to sell apartments because she was such a business. I wanted to wear those long coats, have my hair up, and be a businesswoman. And I know I can do it all, but then I have this time issue. Like there's no time. I'm not going to be able to do it all. And then I'm freaking out. How much time do I have? So I'm like, okay, I focus on my paintings because I'm very good at it. I'm going to do that. I love it. But of course, back in my head, it's like, there's so much more. And I know this is my goal, but there's so much more. And I want to have it all. And my mom would always say that she would compare it. She had this nice saying, I don't know where it came from, that I want to grab life as cherries from the tree. She's like, you want to grab all those cherries, you just want to grab them all and put them in your basket. You're like, and I'm like, yes, of course. But I guess that's also one of the reasons when you felt torn apart. And being torn apart, it's not being unhappy. It can make you sad. So I also have this division between I don't believe in unhappiness for myself. I can be very sad, extremely sad, suicidal, but it still doesn't mean that I'm not a happy person to be alive. I'm very happy to be alive, even if I'm in the middle of despair. So being torn apart makes you very sad and very melancholic, but it also makes you very happy because it's just this feeling. So that's what I guess is on my mind, and that's the whole key, is the fantasy. So that's how I end up in New York. I had this fantasy, I'm going to be in New York, and I don't know how it happens. Whenever I have this fantasy, it always happens. I don't know how. I guess I attract it, and then I roll forward. And when something pops to my head, few years later or few months later, I'm going to be there. So then I became kind of scared of my fantasies. Whatever I want, it's going to happen. Maybe not the shape I imagine it. So that's when the reality approaches. Oh, it looks a bit different. It feels a bit different. Did I really want that? And I'm like, maybe not. So that's how I keep coming back and forward. And I go back home because my other fantasy is to be stable in my roots, to be rooted. And it's a completely different me, and I like that too. It's a very solitude space, and I keep to myself. I'm quiet. I work a lot. I clean a lot, and yes, as I said, I even have this time obsession. This time obsession is huge. Like, I always feel there's not enough time, not for anything. Like, I enjoy spring so much, but it's too short. And even winter, when the spring comes, I'm like, I'm not ready for the spring yet. I haven't had a sense of winter yet. I'm like, there's not enough time. And then I grew, and since a small child, so I guess, I don't even control it. People think it's a bit crazy, but for me it's natural. I do things in a half an hour kind of system. So when I go to sleep, it has to be on my timing track. So when I want to go to sleep around 2 a.m., I usually end up in bed at 4 because of this timing track. So when I want to go to sleep at 2 a.m., I shall be getting ready at 1:45, and then I end up in bed, and it's like, for example, 2:10. So then I enter the new time zone, and I have to wait to 2:30. So I start reading, watching something, and then it's 2:37. So I end up in a new time zone, and I wait till 3. So that's how I do things. And I think it's the origin of that is to organize certain house, and this organization quality, let's even call it a quality, I think it gives me pleasure. It just gives me pleasure. And you could say it's a control issue, but for me it's actually spending the value. It's more like paying attention on time and valuing it. And that's when I do that, it gives me pleasure, because when it's just around me and I don't pay attention to it, it's a liquid. And then I feel I'm drowning, and I'm not using it because I'm drowning. So when I want to live it fully, I kind of have to name it. And that's how I come with this whole system. And the idea of this system, what it does to me, it makes me calm, and it organizes certain house. So even though I'm torn apart in between of my fantasies, I still try to organize myself, my persona, my soul. And it's very pleasurable. So I think in that way, I don't know, I kind of develop it naturally. I usually feel happy. Like, seriously, I just feel good, I feel happy. When I'm in a bad mood, but mainly I'm in a bad mood because I didn't sleep enough, like all those little things. I didn't eat good enough, my stomach hurts, and then I'm in a bad mood. And then I'm already like, why am I losing this day being in a bad mood? Like, it's such a beautiful, I lost it because I had a bad mood. And yeah, and of course there are those despair moments, but I kind of like them too. And what we were talking about. So I guess the fantasy idea applies to love a lot. What kind of love would I like to experience? And since I think love is not a narrow thing, it's not like, oh, you meet this person, we in love, we are together. But that's just one way to look at it. And I think love as a feeling is so much spread that when you start being true to yourself, it's not that easy. You feel love one day, and then the next day you just don't. And people ask you like, oh, so do you love this person? But I mean, yeah, ask me on Monday, depends. But it doesn't mean that I don't love the essence of the person. It more means that if I see myself being next to this person at this particular day, and I think there is a certain freedom to it. Like, I don't apply very well to the idea that you love somebody and this person loves you, and then you kind of serve the love purpose. So I guess that's what I am being torn apart by right now, the different fantasies about love. And when I say fantasy, it's actually, for me, it's very true. The fantasy becomes more true than the reality itself. The reality is more of me trying to judge the fantasy and nail it down and make it mundane, so it doesn't flourish anymore. So let's say that's the key of me being torn apart right now, because and it's not that I can't decide. So okay, so of course there are particular circumstances to everything, and so there are two boys. And it's not that I can't make a decision, it's like I like them both in a different way. And then I'm finding myself that maybe I'm not suited for this idea of just, choose me, like, and what if I have some other feelings? And what if I have some other needs? People are just different. And I think we really, the more I live with my idea of time, the more I order my own chaos within my system, the more free I become. So then when you tell me oh, this person proposed to you, you must be extremely happy. Why? Because he did, or because I'm feeling it? So then you start owning your feelings that much that you kind of want to do it all, like what my mommy used to say. And in a way, you can do it. It just depends on how you're going to feel. So my question is, what fantasy is going to be stronger for me, and at which time? And the only question is, will I want to grab this balloon or not? And I'm going to do that anyhow. I just can't tell you now what will I want to grab at one point. So it's unpredictable, and of course it is. Everything is it is, but then it makes it always fresh, and it renews itself, and the feeling is a natural feeling, and it's a true feeling, not the feeling forced that we made this decision, we supposedly be doing this. For me, there is no supposedly. So yes, I guess it creates certain troubles for me and other people, but it's just the way how you look at it. So I don't know if I'm explaining it right. Yeah, it's more that when you reach certain freedom within you, it's pretty scary. It makes you very happy when you know that. It's like, okay, so those are the things. I'm not making it up. It's just how it is. That's the nature of my heart, human heart, in my opinion. And then when you realize that and you want to be true to it, it puts you on certain tracks. And then it just leads you. It's like I told you about the fantasy. You just end up going in certain direction, and you don't really know what's motivating you. It's within you. And then it's also unverbal. So basically you just own your feelings, not even knowing that you own them. So you have to act on them to make them as true to you as possible. And everything else and everybody else doesn't matter. And your feelings are also unpredictable. It depends on the mood, depends on your sleeping cycle, and it depends on the dialogue you have with somebody. Things attract your attention, or they turn you off. And it's again this balloon floating away. It's like, do I want to grab the balloon? Which balloon I want to grab? And how long will I be flying with this balloon? I really can't say. And yeah, you can't force me to say it, since I don't know.